on Facebook. Be nice to me.
Why?
Why? That's right. Why would George be nice to me?
Okay.
A lot of bugs here tonight.
Yeah, well, since we have to wait, how about guys, you all tweet, if you tweet to your friends that you are at a fabulous Palm Beach Photographic Center lecture. So our speaker tonight is Raymond Gehman, and Raymond is, we have been really lucky because Raymond has been spending a couple months every winter and every fall and maybe even a month in the summer teaching workshops here. So if you look at the schedules, I don't know if they handed out schedules, but you can find them on our website. He does a lot of classes throughout April, and then he will be back in the summer and again in the fall. But one new thing that we're doing with not just Raymond, but also Luis Kemper and Vincent Versace this summer, we're starting a new series of workshops in Yellowstone National Park in conjunction with the Buffalo Bill Center. And we're going to be doing a workshop, Raymond is going to lead a workshop May 12th to 20, May 12th to the 18th. It's going to be fun because Raymond has done a lot of work at Yellowstone. He did the book for National Geographic, and I think he's going to show you images from Yellowstone tonight. But let me tell you a little bit, for those of you who are new, so that you know how amazing our instructors are. Raymond has worked for National Geographic since 1986. With 3 cover photographs and numerous books and articles, he has been on assignment in Yellowstone, Wyoming, Bighorn Country, Florida, Sanibel Island, Gulf Coast, the Canadian Rockies, the rainforests of Belize, and rural China during the People's Republic 50th anniversary celebration, among many others. He has documented grizzly bears, the vanishing prairie dog and wetlands, the ecology of fire, the aftermath of hurricanes, hot pools, and nocturnal Apache ceremonial dancers. Previously, he studied fine arts photography at Northern Virginia Community College and earned a degree in photojournalism from the renowned School of Journalism at the University of Missouri. Recently, he has concentrated on more personal digital artwork, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary by shooting everything from apples to zebras, flowers to flying like dogs, and glass globes to transcendent tracks, and transforming these subjects into dazzling impressionistic images. And actually, one of the workshops he teaches is one where he teaches you Magic Made Easy, and he teaches you some of that stuff. Please help me welcome Raymond Gehman.
Thanks, Fatima. I got these microphone wires all over me. I'm not used to this, but sorry about the delay. Bill Antlek and his faithful assistants are live streaming this to YouTube tonight. Right, Bill? Yeah.
You're right.
So that took a little extra time to get that set up. So, yeah, Yellowstone. Yellowstone's a great place. I've done a lot of work out there. It was my first big assignment for National Geographic. I got so many stories about Yellowstone. I learned so much out there. It's where I fell in love with, wildlife photography. I worked for newspapers for a long time, and I'd never photographed wildlife. Not too much, at least, not in Virginia where I worked. But once I got to Yellowstone, it was just a no-brainer. I had a 600 millimeter lens, an f4, and it was just incredible. It was so much fun, except for the tripod deal. But the workshop is May 12th through the 18th. It's going to be incredible. I think there are 3-4 places left on the roster. We can take 12, I believe, right, Fatima? 12. It's going to be great, I think. It's going to be a great season. Could be some snow, could be some nice sun, could be some mud, could be some just beautiful weather. There'll be babies being born all week long, I'm sure. Elk calves and bison calves, most notably. So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to read this little thing I wrote about Yellowstone, just so I could remember some of the little stories. The word Yellowstone means so many people, means so many things to so many people. I've heard of this legendary place since I was a kid, watching Yogi Berra cartoons. No, Yogi Berra, not Yogi Berra. That's the baseball player. Yogi Berra cartoons. It's known throughout the world. I mean, everybody knows Yellowstone. Everybody goes to Yellowstone, especially in the summer. Our workshop in May is a great off-season from the tourists, as is, well, the tourist season kind of starts in July through August, early September. It does get crowded, though, let me tell you. There's just so many famous icons there. Places like a picture postcard waiting to happen, right? I mean, I remember postcards as a kid everywhere. Everybody has postcards of Old Faithful. Some of the canyons and the other thermal features, all the bears and the bison and the elk. Lewis and Clark happened upon it in their expedition, and in their journals deemed it a place of special significance and mystery. And the famed Western photographer Timothy O'Sullivan visited it in his little wagon. He had a little wagon, right, Timothy O'Sullivan? Little horse-drawn wagon. It must have taken him forever to get up there, because he shot mostly in Colorado or New Mexico, right? It must have taken him forever. But he had incredible landscape pictures of Yellowstone back in the late 1800s. So it's been shot before. Ha, lots. Actually, it's the world's first national park also, around 1880, 82 or so. It became the world's first national park. It was so special. So I finally made my journey of discovery to Yellowstone in 1979, when I moved my young family from the Washington, D.C. area to Missoula, Montana. I had my first professional job as a newspaper photographer there waiting for me. So I had this 1976 red Honda Civic, about that big, you know. There was my wife and 2 dogs in there, and a U-Haul trailer that was the size of Nebraska in the back, full of everything I owned, right? Or we owned. Headed out across the country, 2,000 miles, nearly baked in Kansas. It was so hot in Kansas, we had to pull under highway overpasses to cool off. You know, it was like July or August. It was a long, long trip, and it was really hot. And the trip became even longer because I was so stupid to hook a large U-Haul trailer behind this little Honda. It just wasn't built for that, you know? It just was crazy. We finally made it to Yellowstone, and what I remember most about Yellowstone is creeping, limping up these mountain passes, like at 10 miles an hour, traffic backing up behind me, horns beeping. Just, it was horrible. And I kept seeing great places I wanted to stop and shoot. And I thought, oh God, if I stop here, I'll never get momentum up again and get up this hill. It was not the best first impression of Yellowstone for me, but you know, I coasted down the last pass down into Gardner, went up the Livingston Valley, the Paradise Valley with a tailwind, got on the interstate and made it all the way to Missoula, barely. I got off the exit ramp in Missoula, Montana, started to turn, the car died. I coasted into the first gas station, and it went, that was it. The car was dead. But I did make it. It was a great start to my career. Done. Okay, so let's look at some pictures. All right? I had to do all the work here. Here's a map. Duh. Hey, Bill, do I have to stay right here? Can you hear me?
No, you can
or can I move around?
You can move.
Woo. All right, so here's this map of Yellowstone. It's famous for its figure-8 loop road. Gets you to all the great places. Imagine that. You either come in from the south from Jackson, down here, or you can come in from the west, from West Yellowstone. You can fly in from Bozeman, up here and drive down this road. You can come in from the north, from Gardner and Livingston, Montana, from Billings, say. You can come in from from the north entrance, from Cook City and Beartooth Mountains, and from Cody in Wyoming. Whoops. We're gonna meet in Cody and drive in. We're gonna stay here. Old Faithful. This is the first mountain pass that nearly killed me. And then there was another one in here, and there was another one somewhere in here. It was dreadful. So that's the park. There's great places all around for thermal activity. Old Faithful, this whole road is full of geothermal activity. So is Norris. So is Mammoth. Canyon is famous for the lower falls of the Yellowstone River, which cascade over. What is that blinking? Is that me? Oh, wow, that's weird. So Canyon is famous for the falls, the Great Falls, and the beautiful Orange Canyon. Fishing Bridge is famous for camping and tourists. A lot of people there, and fishing. West Thumb is also a thermal feature. So we'll find wildlife all around that place, those loop roads. We'll find great scenics, landscapes, what have you. All right. This is the Wind River Range. I did this book in 1987 to 1988. I spent a full year there, all the seasons I shot. And it wasn't just on the National Park of Yellowstone, it was on the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, which is a total of 14 million acres. And it's comprised of the two national parks, the Grand Teton National Park and Yellowstone. And there are 7 national forests that surround this as a buffer zone from development. They control the logging and the housing in it. And there's several, maybe 6 national wildlife refuges also that buffer this great pristine ecosystem called the Greater Yellowstone Ecosystem. This is the Wind River Range, which is east of Jackson, about an hour. Incredible place where climbers all go to climb these great granite spears called the Cirque of the Towers. And whenever I go somewhere, I hire an outfitter. If I want to go back in the backcountry, either I hike, or I canoe, or I hire a guy with a horse, and ride in, or I might even fly in on a float plane and then hike out. It depends on what the outfitter kind of specializes in. These guys make or break you, though. Snake River overlooking the Grand Teton National Park. Early morning with alpenglow, about 5 a.m., maybe 6 a.m., and the moon set. Great coincidental meeting of, what would you call that? Meeting of something. That's what it's called, natural phenomenon, yeah. Weather. I used I think it was a six-stop neutral density filter, maybe 3-stop, graduated neutral density filter on the top, on the sky, down to about where the valley sort of flattens out. I couldn't have made the picture without that. There was no way. This is something that you just happen upon in Yellowstone. I always kept a camera with like a 300 2.8 lens on my seat and a wide angle also nearby on another body. It was always there, always ready. Because at any time, and you also know many of the other parks, Grand Tetons, wherever, Smoky Mountains, things happen real quick. Wildlife sightings coming, around the road, there they are. And I didn't see this bear. So that flickering is just sort of one of those things. Okay. I didn't see the bear chasing this elk calf. Of course not, you don't see that and get it. I saw the herd of elk that had just crossed the river, or the creek. So I got out to take a few pictures, and all of a sudden, man, this elk just comes squealing and tearing across the meadow and into the creek with the black bear chasing it across the river, across the road, into the other side of the forest, and that was, I think, it for the elk calf. Pretty exciting, though. I wouldn't have gotten it if I didn't have that 300 sitting there. It's always on at least 500th of a second, maybe 1,000, it's usually 500, because I shoot slide film. It's always ready, sitting there, always ready. A grizzly bear, that last one was a black bear, this is a grizzly bear. It depends on the season, usually it's the grass on the sides of the road where the forest thins out and sunshine gets in and the grass grows nice and lush, and most of the animals love that stuff. So bears will show up there sometimes. You just have to hit it right. I know a couple of people there who are in touch with the rangers every morning usually, and they know where the bears were seen the night before, and that helps a lot. So for a week I kind of did that and worked with this guy, and we got a lot of nice grizzly bear pictures. Here he's just kind of working that log for some like grubs, little insects to eat. Actually, he's in training for a lumberjack competition on ESPN. A couple of bull elk. There's a lot of elk in Yellowstone. That was probably my first real love of shooting wildlife. Maybe elk or some red foxes. But they're just incredible. You know, big, stately animals, and the bull elk have these great racks, and they're just a lot of fun to shoot. They get this velvet in the probably late summer, midsummer, that covers their horns. Then they rub that all off when they start rutting in the fall. It just comes off in like sheets of bloody sort of stuff. Never looks good in a picture though. Usually wait till they get it all off before you start shooting. Also a bull elk, a younger one in velvet. And I saw him feed. This is the Madison River, which runs from West Yellowstone to the Madison Junction. Great place to shoot wildlife. It's a very lush valley. A lot of bison and a lot of elk in there. And good backlighting in the afternoon. And it's a pretty good cut bank creek, so I realized I could shoot backlighting and have a really black background at the right time of day, on anything that was anywhere near the creek or river. And of course, this is really fast shutter speed, probably 1,000th of a second. Everything I shot, like on color slide film, was 1,000th of a second at 2.8, maybe 500 at f4, probably 2.8. Unless I was using a wide angle, that was 125 at f8 or maybe 11, or 60th at f11. It's just, the film is so slow. ISO 100 at the most. Or ASA, I mean. Ooh. I can't see anybody, but if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And maybe if Constance sees you waving your hand or...
I wasn't quite sure how to read that last photograph.
Oh, really? Oh, let's go back. Boop, boop, boop. All right. Well, let me know. What do you think?
What am I looking at?
Oh, okay. Allow me to pinpoint specific parts of this animal. His head starts here. I'm sorry. I've seen these things so many times. I don't even hardly think about it. The head is here, right? He was underwater like this, grabbing these tufts of grass underwater, get a big tuft of grass, and then lift his head up and rip it off the bottom of the river. And when he came up, water just cascades, right? And here's his body, right? And these are his big antlers, one side and the other side. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, sorry. No, yeah, ask. That's a good idea. I think this is also the 600. You can't beat that lens for shooting wildlife. At f4, it's just sharp, and the background just disappears, and you had to manually focus it. But, that wasn't so hard to do if you practiced at it. Probably better than autofocus. Then here's the wide-angle approach, right? You always have two camera bodies with each lens. I don't do that now, though, with digital. Noticed oops. Bighorn sheep, a big ram with a full curl. Yeah, it becomes a full curl when it comes around all the way and touches the ear. These are prized by hunters, unfortunately, and by photographers also, like me. Let's see what else. This actually is anybody guess what lens this is? Want to take a guess? What lens I used? It's a telephoto, but anybody? Charlie? Take a guess. 600. Wrong. I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, it was a 70 to 200 zoom, 2.8 zoom. I shot it at 2.8 because he was in deep, deep shadow, and that mountain was in the brightest sunlight ever. So I overexposed it by almost 2 or 3 stops, and I crept up real close to him too so I could shoot it with the 2.8 lens because he was in the dark. And then, okay, look. Film, right? Probably Provia, Fuji Provia. I doubt if it's Kodachrome. I think it's Fuji Provia film. Oh, sorry. What's going on, Constance? This is hard to see. Okay, film, right? Digital. Now, do you see a difference? What do you think? There's a difference. I can't put my finger on it, but there is a difference. Seems to be more shadow detail, longer tonal range. It's not a good or bad thing, really. There's a difference, though. Yeah, I like this composition a lot. I had to get down low, you know, which is, oh my God. But it was nice soft grass, so I didn't mind it too much. And I'd been riding all day, so getting down and sitting on the ground was kind of fun. So I think I popped off my flash a little bit. I think I see a little highlight there. So it's probably at -2 or something like that. And just to fill in the horse's head. Yeah, I did. I can see down below. It definitely has a little fat flash on it. And just balance the background. And tried to keep it edgy, right? Fill up the frame. That's my motto. Fill the frame up, except in this case. Get things on the edges that work. Wild horses. There's a wild horse range in Montana. Not right in Yellowstone. You have to drive a bit, but it's still part of the ecosystem. And they have just herd the wild horses. Just galloping herd the wild horses. The BLM, Bureau of Land Management, well, is responsible for them. They don't manage them, but they're responsible for the land, I guess. It took about 2 or 3 hours to drive up there, and this bumpy creek is basically a creek without water in it that you drive up, which is kind of fun. And you just walk around these high meadows up in the mountains, and it was great. Photographed these horses. It was awesome. I really like this picture. These little guys here, well, it's a sunset, pretty much. You know, definitely a great time to shoot sunrise or sunset because you get that great warm lighting, right? And you get, if you work it right, you get side lighting, which you can't beat in photography. Backlighting or side lighting, anything but front lighting, I think, on a sunny day. I need to stand differently. So anyway, that really makes those guys pop against the background. Oh, yeah, okay. That's a good idea. Are you going to do that? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Much better. Right, that black shadow just popped from that brighter background. That's just, the side lighting does that. You kind of see the shadowing, and you know you're going to get depth. You're going to get a feeling of dimension. And that's what you want, I think, to make it come to life.
What are they?
Well, prairie dogs.
Prairie dogs?
Mm-hmm. Prairie dogs inhabit the West. They live in burrows. They're really cute and very sociable with each other. Always talking to each other. Okay, Lamar Valley. I didn't point it out on that map, but it's one of the northern valleys in Yellowstone. It's kind of a wild-looking place, full of herds of bison. A great place for landscapes and wildlife. And one single 2-lane road through the middle of it, which I finally decided to make a picture of one day. I like this kind of light. It's pretty much after sunset, right? The sun has gone below the trees. There's light on the sky, which is blue, which gives these pin stemons sort of a deeper, more lovely shade of kind of purple blue from that skylight. And yet there's no sun, no direct light. So you get a very nice, soft, yet still intense and saturated image with light like that. It looks kind of dark when you look at it. You're sitting there shooting and there's no light there, but it is coming from the sky, reflected. It gives you this very kind of lush, soft, almost touch it feeling. But looks dark. You have to kind of overexpose it a little bit to bring up the color. And then sort of the opposite, same meadow. Earlier in the afternoon, actually. Same meadow, different lens. Last one was a 20 millimeter, I think, and this is a, I think I forgot. 600, I think. What time? A year? Oh, Princeton in July. Seems like it was late June, early July. Depends on the altitude you're at for when the wildflowers bloom. I think I was kind of high here. I think it was maybe later in July. Okay, this is a little experiment. They have lots of aspens. I love aspens. And Yellowstone has great aspen groves. And this is a little bit of adventure in Nick Color Effects software, because it was just a green picture, and the trees actually looked green because the trunks just picked up this color cast. It was ungodly. I never could get that thing, fixed straight to look like accurate color. So I went and flipped it around. Harebells, great wildflowers, purple, real intense purple. I don't shoot lots of macro. I used to shoot more macro, but you really have to get down. That's the whole thing, is to get down there and just hang out down there for an hour or more. I like to do it in the afternoon because the light slowly gets better. If you do it in the morning, the light slowly gets worse. And that's just, that makes you depressed, I think. Who likes that, right? Oh my God, it's getting worse. Oh. No, it's getting better. And that's the way I like to shoot. Just a sedge pond in Yellowstone. Grasses grow in this water. The water stays warm year-round, actually. Some of the water in Yellowstone, because it has all these geothermal features that feed into the streams and creeks. It keeps the water temperature warm, and it doesn't really freeze over. I mean, some do, but a lot of them don't, and it provides great forage for the animals. And that's a good place you kind of go look for pictures, too, then. Trumpeter swans are great to shoot. They're bigger than egrets. You know how big egrets are, and great blue herons and wood storks. These guys are big. They're bigger than all of those, and they're white, just like the stupid egrets are. So they're so easy to overexpose. I mean, so easy. But that's the way it is. White birds are white birds. There's a hawk, red-tailed hawk, landing on this little fir snag, up sort of higher in the mountains. Now this is down in the Tetons. The Tetons has a couple different roads that you can drive. One road is to the main floor of Jackson Valley, and it goes from the bottom part of Yellowstone down to Jackson Hole, the little town. The little town that'll cost you a fortune. And then they have an inner road that runs between the main road and the Great Range of Mountains. And I'm on that road here, and that's where you want to go shoot, because you're just closer to the mountains. It's just, there's little trails you can hike up, but most of you can shoot a lot from the road. This is, where am I here? Oh, I guess that would be the Grand Teton there, the highest peak, 14,000 feet. And little old Ray climbed up there once with not by myself, of course, right up there. Worst pictures I ever shot. Oh my God. I thought of pulling out my camera, and shooting pictures while trying to climb that. That wasn't going to happen. Not going to happen. This is one of my favorite pictures of my son early one morning in the fog. I really like the composition. Just, sometimes compositions just hit you because that's the only way you can shoot something, right? I'm going, oh my God, how do I shoot this? The sun's way up there, and he's this little guy down there, and you just sort of work it, and all of a sudden I kind of see this triangle that happened, and I think it works real well. I like the scale of this, the small person sort of by himself, sort of very reflective, just like he usually is. Picture like that, you have to bracket, especially on film, because you just don't know. You go 1 over, 1 under, 1 over, maybe even 2 over, 2 under. HDR wasn't invented back then. It would have been really nice, though. A long lens shot, I think it was the 70 to 200 zoom again at 2.8. I love that. That lens is great. I never use it anymore, but at 2.8, that lens is great for popping subjects out. It's sharp as heck. And you can shoot in low light because you can hand hold it real steady, right? So that's about it. Another macro shot. But I think, I don't think this is with a macro lens. I'm thinking this is with a wide angle lens I had that I could focus real close to the subject, like within 4 or 5 inches, to get more of that expanding feel. the kind of the world of the leprechaun world here. No, what are they called? Leprechauns. Leprechaun, brother. Elves. What is it? Yeah. Leprechaun, I made up a word. Elflecon. The elflecons are out everywhere. Now, what is this thing, Constance? Oh, pine cone. Yeah. Little pine cone, just detail shots, right? Things I like about it, though, are the nice diagonal of the jagged wood there. Pretty nice. A nice diagonal over here that lead up to it. So you have two lines that lead up and form a triangle with the pine cone at its point. Some squirrel probably stuck that there and pulled all the nuts out of it. And let's see, an aspen stump right beside that the other picture where the yellow leaves were. I actually tripped over this and went, kicked it. Oh, look at that thing. It's a great stump. It's my best wolf shot, I'd have to say. Forget what lens was. I think 200 millimeter or 300. But it's panning. I didn't have much time to think. I think I happened to be at a 60th or 125th for some reason and panned and, got a kind of a burst off, but the blur really works pretty good. It probably was the 60th, actually. He was really flying. These are some horses on a ranch in Montana, outside of Yellowstone, but in the ecosystem. A great backlighting, one of my favorite things. Gives you these great silhouettes, these strong graphic shapes, right? Just really intense, strong, solid shapes. And the backlighting, especially if you have a small dust storm going in the corral, illuminates the whole scene and gives you great contrast and drama. It does weird things too, like smoke or dust. That's backlight does the weirdest things with shadows. That's not actually my camera moving. It's just some weird shadow that gets cast. Wait, maybe this needs refocusing. Let me just check this. That's pretty good. Is that the focus? No, that's the zoom. This is the focus. I wonder if that blip is from Bill's video camera. That's what it looks like. Okay, the old 600 with the 1.4 converter, so that's like a 900, I guess, almost. Late at sunset, the softness is created by the forest fires that we had in Yellowstone, or they had in Yellowstone in 1988. That was my last summer in the park. I'd already been there a year. I was getting ready to leave, and damn it, the whole place didn't catch on fire. I mean, the whole place caught on fire. It's like, oh my God. I said, what should I do? What should I do? So, because my contract was running out. I had so much time. And I called and they said, oh, you better stay. That could be a big event. And it sure was. That was a good thing about working for them, Geographic, is you get a good budget. And you can budget yourself some aerials. If you go for the helicopter, you get one trip. If you go for the Cessna 172 with the fuselage, the wing over top the fuselage, you can take 2 or 3 trips. And it's a little hairier, a little harder, because you can't stop like a helicopter can hover, but the pilot can dip his wing and you just look straight down on stuff and shoot as you fly by it, and you open the window, of course. So it's a pretty long exposure, like 4 seconds or something maybe. Another hot spring. The thermals in Yellowstone are great. They just make great pictures. They're colorful. The light is always good. If it's midday, if you get enough steam, the light is filtered, so you have nice soft light. It's usually kind of golden, especially early and late. And they're just really dramatic things. Well, yeah, I did have another shot of this wolf with a longer lens, I guess. A bobcat from outside of the ecosystem, but in one of the national wildlife refuges. I was working with a guide on this. It's an elk in the middle of the winter. I stayed there in the winter for, I think, a month and a half, 6 weeks. And I stayed in a little cabin at Old Faithful, and I had this snowmobile I would get in every morning and go zipping sort of around. That's the only way to get around unless you go on skis, which would have been crazy with the equipment, or the snow coach. And you go with like 6 people in this little yellow tank on treads, and you pop up out of the little hole in the roof and shoot pictures. And I didn't want to spend a month doing that with 5 other people. So I had my own little snowmobile and zipped around and froze to death, crashed now and then. My first day, I go to West Yellowstone, I get like a month's worth of groceries, right? I think I'm so smart. I've never driven a snowmobile. And so I said, hey, I'm taking a lot of stuff in my gear and some groceries, for a month. And the guy said, well, you probably want a cart to put behind it. Here we go again, right? Put something behind your car. You want a cart to put behind your snowmobile. I said, great. So he puts everything back there, and I go down the park road, and I realize the park road is frozen. There's ruts everywhere. It's just, it's like 0 degrees, and I'm going, everything's bouncing. Next thing I know, boom, the whole cart just tips over, flies up in the air, and then tips over. And of course, the eggs broke and went over everything, which were like a month's worth of groceries. But it was pretty exciting. I was out there rummaging through the snow for stuff. Not very happy with snowmobiling at the time. So what in the world? Okay, roll it. This is called West Thumb Geyser Basin. It's kind of in the south. It's a smaller thermal area, but still real nice. Mostly, in the winter, it's incredible because all these little pools, there's a pool here, there's a pool here, there's a pool back there. They're just hot, right? And the air is cold and just makes for great pictures, great contrast. Another one here in the winter, the sunrise with the steam rising.
That's a stuffed buffalo, right?
Yeah, I carried him in the snowmobile too. I had an extra cart for that. He was heavy. And Old Faithful, of course. You can see the lens. Huh? You can see the lodge back there. That's where the lodge is. Pretty close to the actual geyser. And this is a picture I knew I had to get for that book. I had to have a good picture of Yellowstone. It couldn't be just the same old, geyser picture. I had to get something a little different and a different angle. So I was out there at sunset every day, hoping for an eruption right at sunset. And I did finally get one. Not more than one, but one. And I noticed if I walked on the boardwalk and was very quiet, I could kind of sneak off the boardwalk and through some trees, and nobody could see me. And I had this great shot of the geyser going off, much closer than you're really probably supposed to get. Thing is about, you pay the price. The thing is about these geysers, when they erupt, you want to make sure where the wind's going, right? It's going, what's that, north, I think, here. Yeah, that's west, that's north. Because that steam is full of mineralized water, like, I think they call it geyserite. If that stuff gets on your filter or lens, it'll just eat holes in it. So you don't want to probably do that. Also in the deep dead of winter, this is the coldest day I shot, was like minus 24. And I had this snowmobile with a helmet, snowmobile helmet with a thing on it. What's that called, a shield? That thing cracked. It was so cold. It just cracked right in half. There's a lot of work shooting in the winter. I mean, there's gloves and boots and underwear and parkas and a mule deer. They're great because they have those big ears. They make good subjects. They're kind of skittish, but they still make good subjects. A red fox, you'll see those. Probably see more in the winter when they're hungry than you do in the summer. But spring is a good time to see most wildlife because they're coming off the winter. They've either been hibernating or sleeping it off, sleeping off the big party of the fall, I guess. And they're rambunctious, and this is like in late March, maybe early April. So it's a good time to see wildlife in the Yellowstone area. It's in early spring. This is sort of out off the edge of the park. A picture I shot for the newspapers when I worked there. That's one of my favorites, so I always throw it in. It's the Big Hole Valley in Montana. It's about 60, 70 miles from Yellowstone. Just ranch country that it depends on the calving season every spring, which determines the profitability of the ranch. Because if they have a good calving season, then they make some money. And if you have a blizzard hit during the middle of that calving season, then you lose money because the calves will not survive. So their crew is out looking for any lost calf that gets away from its mother and doesn't stay warm, because they freeze real quick. This is from a powwow. This is like both these were Tri-X film that I shot for the newspaper in Missoula. Probably my two favorite pictures from like 4 years of working there as a staff photographer. And a powwow in the Montana area. This is really a dark, rainy day. This would be like putting your camera on cloudy white balance, basically. Because I picked this film called Kodak SW, which stood for slightly warm in slide film. And it gave me some nice warm color, actually, on a really blue, dull, gray day. This is another newspaper assignment, actually. This was shot a lot of pictures in high school gyms in my day for newspapers. Probably the worst light in the world. It's a high school gym, and it's dark, but anyway. Gull feather with just another macro shot. Like I said, I don't shoot a lot of macros. This was color originally, but I think I desaturated it. I shoot a lot of this kind of thing, especially now. Back then, when you're shooting film, you don't see your pictures usually for perhaps a month or 6 weeks or 2 months or sometimes all summer or through the fall. So you're a little reluctant to really let loose, right? And start firing off pictures, because an editor is going to see your pictures first. A picture editor will always see your pictures first. And you kind of want to be a bit cool about what you're doing. Not that they're saying, don't go around and shoot stupid pictures where you have rearview mirrors, but I would anyway. But I still would shoot these things, now and then. But now in digital, God, it's just so much fun. You shoot, you see it, you see what you have to do to get it just right. And I think digital is great for pictures like this, kind of off the wall. Okay, how many pictures do we have left? We doing okay?
About 10 more, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, just 10 more?
Yep.
Ooh. So, let me think here. One of the reasons I did well at Geographic and why I sort of got work there and kept working was because I was a photojournalist, right? And I trained at newspapers, and I could shoot news and get it sharp in sports and get it sharp in fashion and get it sharp. But I also had this fine art thing. I went to fine art school for about 3 years and got an associate degree. And I learned a lot in that. And I loved fine art photography and the old masters of that. So I kind of mixed those two styles together. I got really turned on to documentary photography, from that FSA Farm Security Administration era in the 30s, in the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression. And this is like a Walker Evans picture for me. He was a great photographer for formal compositions of old towns that were dying, like in the South. So I learned a lot from him. So I sort of mixed those styles together, kind of art, some photojournalism, some dumb things they do. So I started kind of watching for pictures of them, but I didn't foresee this picture. I saw these cowboys out doing a cattle roundup in the National Park, Teton National Park. I was shooting that and having fun, and this stupid bus pulled up right behind me, which I thought just ruined my whole day. Right? And I'm up there with the long lens, saying, oh, God, I got to jump down and get a wide angle, quick. And all these tourists are getting off the bus and falling by and going, shooting pictures, and it was like Disney World, And by the time I jumped down to the ground, I got my wide angle and jumped back on top of the roof of the bus. Shoot, I got one last person getting off the bus. Thank God. It was Angela Lansbury. Do you believe it? You're a little slow tonight, and I couldn't. You're a little slow. Another picture, they published this also, as I recall. They don't always get published, but sometimes they do, and that's what kind of makes my day. But, my eyes are always looking. That's why I stay up late and work at night. Photoshop or email or what have you. I cannot do it during the day because I'm looking out the window and I'm seeing stuff and thinking, oh, look at that. Boy, the light's getting good. Oh, my God. Oh, the light's good. Light's good. I cannot get anything done, so I just stay up. You know, when it gets dark, okay, now it's time to work. Because I just keep looking all the time. I think I stopped, you know, the dust is flying everywhere. I'm driving down this road, dust is everywhere. I think I had my window cracked. I think I stopped to roll up the window of the other side of the car and looked in the mirror, and here's this dude, you know, staring at me like, what are you doing out here? Because it's in the middle of nowhere, really. And God, what a great picture. I just happened to have a red Chevy Blazer, thank God. I think this is the old 180 lens. That was the prime lens for a long time, was the 180 f2.8 lens. Fixed, you know, prime lens. I love that lens. Kind of a cowboy portrait, kind of distilling the features and down to the essentials, right? Just the rugged jaw, the stubble, that beautiful scarf, which I'd like to have, and his coat. He's a great guy. I mean, he's kind of a real cowboy wrangler. And later, at the campfire on the horseback trip, I like this symmetry of the hat and the campfire there. I mean, I didn't go sit by the campfire to shoot pictures really, but I did have my camera and just happened to notice that sort of cool shape thing going on. And it's a very slow shutter speed. And I like it. Kind of the same story, except I actually used a tripod here. This is on Kodachrome 200 slide film, so you get a little bit of grain. That was the fastest film you could get, really, that worked. Kodachrome 200. Like, think about that. 200 ISO was the fastest I could go. That's where you start now, you know? Oh my God, it's so bright, 200 ISO. But, you know, it's one lantern back in the back of this cook tent where we would eat at night. And that one lantern threw these great silhouettes on the wall with varying shades of intensity. Just another sort of, this is actually a meeting of this Y2Y group. You know what? I always notice this. So it looks like two weird heads painted by Peter Bruegel the Elder down there in the campfire. Isn't that weird? Y2Y came around about in the mid-1990s. In 1999, I kind of heard about it in 98 and proposed a book on it. In 1997. So in 1998, I photographed this book called Yellowstone to Yukon. It was about not like the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, but the entire northern Rocky Mountain ecosystem, which runs from the Grand Teton Range, clear up sort of the spine of North America, really, clear up through Geyser National Park, Montana, into Banff and Jasper and Yoho National Parks in Canada, on up into British Columbia and the Yukon territories, and sort of near Dawson City, Yukon. And so I proposed this book. The Y2Y is they call it Y2Y. It's a coalition of, like, back then, about 150 biologists from the U.S. and Canada. And that's what made it special, is the Canada and U.S. teams were sort of working together. The scientists were working together to save this great ecosystem that runs 2,400 miles, you know, from the Tetons up to Dawson City, Yukon. And they wanted to just make sure if there were going to be more new roads into it, they wanted to be sure to know what was going on and have a say in it. And so these guys formed this organization. And this is one of their early meetings. And just a little bit more of this work, because I'm almost done. I found out about it in the middle of nowhere and rushed back home to propose a story. This guy here was sort of one of the leaders, Wayne Sawchuk. His name's Sawchuk, S-A-W-C-H-U-K, right? Wayne Sawchuk was a logger, believe it or not. He cut down trees for a living. He's Canadian in northern British Columbia. He went way out into this wilderness area. He got sent out there by the timber company, saw this incredible wilderness, totally pristine and untouched. He said, oh my God, I cannot cut this down. So he gave up his job and became this, just not a radical environmentalist, but just a staunch environmentalist who got this Y2Y movement really kicked off. It was incredible. It was great. What a great name. And this is Shoshone Lake. It's sort of a backcountry lake in Yellowstone. You have to actually work to get there. You have to either paddle across the lake and up a creek or hike in about 10 miles. But it's a, you know, Yellowstone is full of incredible magic and great light. It just always is. And that's the end. The end. Did you finish some time? No. So we're not, I mean, there's some time left, right? Boy, that light is intense. Anybody? There's a little birdie there. Well, in the summer, they get a lot of mosquitoes and bugs on their backs because they're kind of defenseless back there, like horses are too, kind of, right? And so birds sit there and pick at the insects also. And that's what he's doing there, is kind of licking a bite. But I love that eye that pops like that. Yeah, yeah. Hey.
Do you use a tripod much?
No. No.
With a 600 millimeter lens?
With that, yes, but I don't use that anymore. Yeah. Oh my God, that thing is so heavy. Yeah, you have to have a tripod for that. They make a 500 f4 that you can get by without one. You know, but no, but that you definitely have to have, and I did. That's it. Unless I'm shooting something with a slow, like a waterfall or some reason to shoot very slow and get it sharp, like the geysers, I don't. Unless I'm doing a landscape, I want lots of sharpness. And yeah, maybe I would.
But those 4-second shots, you use a tripod, right?
Back then, yeah.
Late in the afternoon or in early evening?
Yeah, the early evening. Yeah, I would. Yeah, like the flowers. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yep, I always. But the further you go away from civilization in the car, the more that tripod starts to weigh on you, and you really think twice about carrying it that far, like 10 miles or something. So then you make do with what you got. Maybe I usually would carry one quite often, but I didn't. I used it when I had to, right? I don't like shooting with one very much, but yes.
What are you using now for wide angle? Like if you were going to Yellowstone?
Oh yeah. Well, let's see. It's a problem actually. I have that 28 to 300 for my full frame body, the D600. So that's just a 28 millimeter lens, which isn't very wide. And I think you need something more like a 20 in Yellowstone. Not always, but if you're up close to a geyser erupting, yeah, you're going to want a 20 millimeter lens. So I have a 12 to 24 that I put on my D90 body. So that would be my wide angle, 12 millimeters to 24 millimeters. Even then, I think. Yep.
This gentleman just asked me why all your pictures look like paintings.
Because I'm an artist.
That's what I said.
I don't know. Well, some people ask me how much Photoshop do I do on these. And the thing is, with mostly National Geographic pictures, I don't Photoshop those. I mean, I do Photoshop them, but you're not supposed to. The one exception is that picture of the blue, purpley aspen trees, right? I totally flipped that over. But mostly they're just fairly authentic. In fact, I had to desaturate this one to make it look right. I mean, it was too much color. So I kept taking red and yellow out of it just so it would look kind of natural. That's the thing about color slide film. You have to scan it to get it into the computer, to Photoshop it, and to turn it into a digital image, right? And that scanning process is a bitch, without a doubt, to me. And you really have to work once you get a scan, you really have to kind of Photoshop it to get the levels of color corrected. Probably have to sharpen it some. Yeah, you always get built up dark shadows, or blocked up shadows. There is detail over there, by the way, and kind of blocked up highlights, just like in digital, because it's so contrasty. So yeah, you have to do some Photoshop, but they're not overdone usually. But that's a nice compliment, thanks. Was that you, sir?
That was me.
What a guy. Thanks.
How would you shoot differently now with university film?
I had to kind of get used to that. It took a while. But the funny thing is, I started shooting like I would film, right? The first time I got a digital camera was like 2005. It was a little Olympus 5 megapixel camera, right? You push the shutter button, 10 seconds later, it would snap a picture. You know, it's like, come on. The shutter lag was terrible. But anyway, that's what I started with. And I started trying, then I got a Nikon, what was that, D70. And I started kind of shooting like I used to. And I was bored out of my mind. It's like, So I started doing all these, started shooting at twilight mostly, at 1/8 of a second, or 1/4 of a second, or 1/2 of a second. And cameras started having these pop-up flashes in them in the late 90s, which was, I thought, just cool. So I started popping the flash up and doing long exposures with some flash here and there, handheld, and that's why I got totally into that. So my shooting was opposite, totally polarized from the way I shot this stuff. And I had a lecture on that a month ago here that was featured some of that kind of weird stuff. But that's the way I started in digital. Now, you know, and that's the way I shot for 3 or 4 years, 5 years, just lots of blurry pictures. But then I started coming down here to teach, and I started going out to these wetlands and seeing these great birds and these great wetlands and, you know, the beautiful cypress trees and the swamps, and I thought, I need to get this stuff sharp. So I kind of switched back to getting a lot of sharp photographs. That's a good question. Anybody else? About something? Anything? Anybody interested in going to Yellowstone May 12th? Come on. Come on. It's worth the money, without a doubt. And I have, just to say it real quick, a little promotion here. I do have a brand new workshop called Shooting Everglades Wildlife. I haven't taught it yet. It's pretty new. It's like a 3-day shoot, or 3-day workshop, and it's March 27th, 8th, and 9th.
I think the lecture is on the 26th.
Right, the night before.
Next week,
Yeah, real soon.
to go all the way south to the Everglades?
I'm going to go to Shark Valley. Shark Valley's on Tamiami Trail. Do you know Shark Valley? Oh, it's real good. It's toward the northern part of the park, right? And then we shoot that in the morning, and then we keep going down the Tamiami Trail to Big Cypress National Preserve, which is great for shooting stuff, birds also. So that's the second day. So it's going to be, I think, really good. A lot of fun. We're going to kind of carpool and make it an adventure.
So how many hours out to go?
I think it's 2 hours to, is Greg here?
It's not so good.
Hey, is it 2 hours to Shark Valley? Hour and a half. Oh, really? Yeah, see, that's pretty close. And then Big Cypress is about another half an hour, maybe an hour at the most, depending on where you go. But Big Cypress has great back gravel roads that you can drive through the swamp. You just stop, let the dust settle, and wait to see what you see. And it's great fun. We got some nice deer pictures and alligators and ibis and herons. So anyway, I hope some of you come out for that. It'd be great to see you. And if you have a Nikon that is freaking you out or you don't understand yet, April 5th I teach a Nikon, get to know your Nikon DSLR. All day. It's the first time it's been all day. Okay, so that'd be good too if you have into the meadow, a little bit, 50 yards or, not very far, like from here to the photo center. No up.
And Raymond knows Yellowstone like the back
No
of
up.
his hand, so it's very probably no photographer knows it as well.
Doing pretty well.
Has lots of contacts, so we're going to be able to get some unusual.
When you drive through it at 10 miles an hour, you get to know it pretty well. I knew every tree. Now it's going to be, I have some contacts there too. I really know their wildlife. So anyway, we'll do walking, shoot Old Faithful, you have to walk some, but no hiking. I mean, no up and down, strenuous, rocky, I'm going to die kind of hiking. I don't like that, I don't like that. Yeah. That's a good question, though. That's a good question. I hadn't thought about that. The assumption that you might make, right? But Yellowstone's quite accessible, actually. A lot of tourists shoot it from their car. Let me tell you, right? You'll be out there like early, or maybe at sunset. You'll be shooting a beautiful elk or bison, a carload of, I hate to call them tourists, but they are, pulls up, and you see all these flashes going off inside the car through the windows. Like, ah! It's the funniest sight ever. It'd make a great video. It's so funny. But, I have one more trick. If I'm standing there by myself and I see something really cool, like some wildlife, and all of a sudden I hear cars coming, I'm out there early usually. Cars are coming, I usually go like this until they go by. Then I turn back and because I got so tired of people saying, what is it?